So let's look at this. 145 plus 322. What is the expanded form of each addend? So we certainly could do 100 plus 40 plus 5. And this would be 300 plus 20 plus 2. Then we could add our hundreds together first and get 400. Our tens together next and get 60. And our ones together next and get 7. Well, this is pretty easy. 400 plus 60 plus 7 is 467. Okay? So that is one way to think about doing partial sums addition. Another way, and this is probably the way your teacher's going to recommend that you do it, but really, it'll be whatever way works best for you. Another way to do that is to write it off to the side here. So 100 plus 300, 100 plus 300. Okay, so that was our hundreds. Now we're going to do our tens. 40 plus 20, we're going to write it right underneath. And then our ones, 5 plus 2. And then you can draw a dotted line here. You don't really have to do that. I'll do a solid line. Then you just do your addition. 100 plus 300 is 400. 40 plus 20 is 60. 5 plus 2 is 7. You're adding those parts, partial sums. These are the parts of our sums. 400 plus 60 plus 7 is 467. And another way to check this is you can add them up this way. 100 plus 40 plus 5 is 145. 300 plus 20 plus 2 is 322. And look at that. You get 145 plus 322, which does equal 467. And it's always good to check our answers by making an estimate. You can make your estimate before you do your actual calculation to get the actual answer, or you could even do it afterward. We said that our answer was 367. So let's see. If I wanted to make 145 a close but easier number to work with, well, I might just change that rate to 150. Rounding it to the nearest 10. You're asking yourself, am I going to leave it at 4 tens or am I going to go up to 5 tens? You look at the number next to it, the digit next to it. 5 and above, give it a shove, is what they say. So if it's 5 or above, you're going to give the 4 a shove up to the next number. That's why I went to 150. 322, yeah, I could just call it 300, round to the nearest 100, but I'm going to be 22 off if I do that. So let's stick with rounding it to the nearest 10 in this case. So am I leaving it at a 2 or am I bumping it up to a 3? Well, if I look at the 2, is it 5 or above to give it a shove? It's not. It's 2. So I'm going to leave it alone. 4 or below, let it go, they say. So if it's not 5 or above, you leave it at what it is. So I'm going to leave it at the 2 and round off the 2 ones to a 0. So I'm going to end up with 320. And if we add those numbers up, 100 plus 300 is 400. 50 plus 20 is 70. And 0 plus 0 is 0. So we have 470. And I just realized that it wasn't 367 that we figured out. It was 467. So is 470 pretty close to 467? It sure is. It's only 3 away. So our answer makes sense. And chances are we didn't make a mistake. So it's always good to check your answer, make sure that it is reasonable, that it could actually be your answer, and then it's not way off. Okay, folks, now it's your turn. On your slates or on a piece of paper, solve using partial sums. 269 plus 475. Make sure that you might want to start with a estimate. Get yourself an estimate. Make these numbers into close but more friendly, easier numbers to use. Get an estimate. Remember what that estimate is. Then use the partial sums strategy to actually solve the problem. And then compare your estimate to the actual answer and make sure that it makes sense. Go ahead, give it a try. Hit pause to give some work time. Okay, so to get an estimate, let's see, I'm going to call 145 150. I'm going to call 322 320. And when I add those together, I get 470. So my estimate is going to be 470. And I'm going to keep that right on the screen. Now, partial sums. Remember, you add your hundreds first, or whatever place value is furthest out to the left. In this case, we have our ones, our tens, our hundreds. There's nothing else. So there's nothing else I can do except my hundreds. 100 plus 300. My tens are 40 plus 20. My ones are 5 plus 2. 100 plus 300 is 400. 40 plus 20 is 60. 5 plus 2 is 7. 467. Okay, this is the one I wanted you to try by yourself. I think we did the other one maybe twice. Anyway, try 269 plus 475. Get yourself an estimate, and then do the partial sum strategy. Pause for some work time. Okay, so I would call 269. I know that's really close to 270. It's only one away, and 270 is a nice even 10. 475. Let's see. Do we want to leave that at a 7 or bump it up to an 8? Well, 5 or above, give it a shove. So the 5 is going to get rounded off. It's going to get left off. It's going to be a 0. But the 7 is going to get bumped up to an 8. So 480. All right. So I know 400 plus 200 is 600. I know 8 plus 7 is 15 because 8 and 8 is 16. 2 8s is 16. But that's not an 8. It's one less. So it must be 15. So 15 tens, though. Don't forget, we're in the tens place. 15 tens is 150. And we don't have any ones. So this ends up being 750. Now, do your actual work. 200 plus 400. Your 10s, 60 plus 70. Your 1s, 9 plus 5. 200 plus 400 is 600. 60 plus 70, well, 7 plus 6 is 13. So that's going to be 130 because it's 13 tens. 9 plus 5 is 14. Now we have our 3 parts for our partial sums. Look at this, 3 digits means I have 3 parts. If I was adding a 4-digit number, I'd have 4 parts. If I was only doing a 2-digit number, I'd only have 2 parts. So that's a good way to check your work. 600 plus 130 is 730, plus the 10 is 740, plus 4 is 744. 744. Another way to look at it would be 0 plus 0 plus 4 is 4. 0 plus 3 plus 1 is 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. And 600 plus 100 is 700. Now, is 744 pretty close to 750? It's only 6 away. I would say that means our answer is reasonable. Okay. Your teacher is probably going to tell you now to turn to page 69 in your math journal. 69. And you're going to work on that page by yourself, raising your hand to get help if you need it. You're going to write number sentences to show how you estimated. So you do have to estimate. Then you're going to use the new strategy, the partial sum strategy to solve problems 1 and 2. But then you can use any strategy to solve problem 3. For all problems, show your work and check that your answers make sense. So remember, you're going to get more points for showing your work. You're going to get more points for explaining your work. You'll probably get more points for drawing diagrams And certainly part of this work today is getting a ballpark estimate. So make sure you get an estimate to compare to your actual answer. When you're done with 69, your teacher will give you further instructions, but I bet that your teacher will tell you to then work on page